Tuesday, everyone. I hope you can hear me again. Let me check my microphone. Yep, it's on. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I am so excited about today's guest. I want to welcome you here to the third phase. I'm Lori Carpenter, and today my guest is going to be Leslie Carothers. And I'm telling you, this little cracker or firecracker is something else. Let me tell you, I've been friends with her for a number of years, and she's also my mentor and the one that's helped me get started with this third phase, because I've had to ask her millions of questions about dealing with my mother in her third phase, or me in my third phase and my mother. So today I want to introduce you to Leslie Carothers. She's the principal of Savour Partnership. Leslie is well known and well established in the design industry. She has many innovational digital marketing programs, very proficient in social media, LinkedIn, everything about social media, she is there. She does this for manufacturers, trade shows, and individual interior designers like myself, even. And she's been in this Savour Partnership for 18 years. And 10 years of those, she had been caring part-time for her mother, who is in memory care right now. And so today, Leslie's going to share with us a lot, and you can learn a lot in this third phase. So let me invite Leslie on. And I want to share another thing with you about Leslie, is that she is very, very good with, hi Leslie, how are
I'm
you?
good, thank you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Lori. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the nice.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I wanted to add, as I introduced Leslie to everyone, that Leslie is very proficient in artificial intelligence. Leslie is very humble and does not share this, but Leslie designed um, well, let Leslie tell you about that real quick, because everyone, think about it, y'all. In our age group, we have not, we were not exposed to computers and things like the young kids are now. My 8-year-old can do anything, but let me tell you, Leslie is amazing. And so, Leslie, please share with everyone real quickly about your design.
Yes, so I was asked a couple of years ago to collaborate with the luxury kitchen and bath brand Thompson Traders, now known just simply as Thompson, to design the world's first sink using Midjourney, which is an generative AI platform. And so I designed a sink using Midjourney, or Midjourney designed a sink using my text prompt, I should say. And then Thompson actually produced that sink, and it was introduced at KBIS last year. And the first one just got installed actually in someone's home up in New York City. So that was very exciting. So thanks for that, Lori.
Well, I had to point that out because it was amazing. This sink was fabulous. And if you get a chance, go to Leslie's site and visit it, and you will see this fabulous sink that she designed, and it is amazing. And she's been very humble, but she also was instrumental in a lot of artificial intelligent home tours, a couple, and lighting innovation. And so she's very humble about that, but that's something I feel like my viewers need to know. Everyone following the third phase is how Leslie is very instrumental in a lot of that industry that a lot of times we don't know about. But the reason I have Leslie here is Leslie is dealing with her 94-year-old mother that's in memory care, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Leslie, I know that after your dad died, you were in Minneapolis, right?
Yes, I was living. Yes.
Minneapolis. What were you doing there?
That's actually where I started my digital marketing agency back then. And so it's a confluence of events that led me up to Minneapolis, but that's where I sort of ended up after living all of my life really in the South. And I loved it there, actually, even though it was freezing cold and I had to get used to that. I really loved it there. But my dad died, after my dad died, my mother, who was living in Florida, decided to sell her house and move close to my brother, who was living in League City, Texas. I had actually lived in Houston, Texas, for 22 years of my life. Long story, but got up to Minneapolis. But with my mother moving to League City, which is about 30 minutes southeast of Houston, I thought, I'm up in Minneapolis. And I just decided to move back to, not to Houston, but to League City, because my mother and I honestly didn't have a very easy relationship when I was growing up as a teen. It was a very difficult relationship. And the truth is, I really wanted to work on repairing my relationship with my mom before she, before she would pass away, and I wouldn't have the chance to do that. So with her living next to my brother, with me not married, no children, living up in Minneapolis, I thought, I need to move back and see about working on this. So at the time that I moved back, she was not in memory care, and she was actually living in one of my brother's rental homes here in League City. So anyway, but that's the truth of what led me back here.
Oh, okay. What was it like when your mother was ready and needed to move into assisted living? Was it assisted living?
No, not actually. What happened is she was living in one of my brother's rental homes, and she was about 85 or 86. She was still living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home by herself at that time, and no pets, and had a yard. And she's very meticulous. If anyone who knows me has seen about my mom. But anyway, and she just felt, and she finally told my brother and I, I don't feel like I can care for this home properly anymore. It wasn't that she needed help at that time, but she just felt it was too much for her to care for my brother's home properly. And so she said, I need to do something about this. And that's when, of course, we started talking about it and determining, what we're going to do. And right at that time, which was amazing, probably the algorithm going to work, but it showed me an advertisement for a new continuing care community that was being built in League City. And it hadn't been built yet. And so they literally had just bought the ground, 17 acres. But it was 7 minutes from where I lived.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it was just about, my brother lives around the other side of the lake, so it was just about 10 minutes from where he lived. So all of a sudden, we have this community that we knew nothing about at that time, but we just saw that it was happening. So the people at that community that were starting to pre-sell started holding a lot of events in our area, for people that were interested. So my brother and I started attending those events, learning more, and we liked what we heard, so we brought my mother with us, and they had set up, an architectural mock-up, of the whole thing, so people could kind of see, in whatever scale that was, tiny scale, but what it was going to look like. But there were no units to see, there was nothing to see to find out, what it was really going to be like.
Yeah, nothing to walk through.
Yeah, nothing to walk through, but this was done through the Methodist Retirement Community. So they actually had 6 other communities at that time in different places in Texas. And so we were able to drive up one day with my mother to another one of these communities and just look through it, just to kind of get a sense of, what it was like. Not that the care would be the same in this one, but we found it to be very lovely, and we talked to a lot of people who were sitting in the bistro, and they seemed to really be happy with it. So that led us to even have more confidence. And so finally, we decided, my mom decided to go ahead and invest in buying one of the units. And if you don't know anything about, we'll talk about a little bit later about continuing care, but it's definitely something I want to share with all of you that are watching today.
Oh, good. So I didn't realize it was a option to buy. I know, like in Little Rock, we don't have anything close here that gives you that option to buy, but that's very interesting. So yes, I definitely want to hear about that. Well, what have you learned about this 55 plus communities?
Well, so there are lots of different options for people that need to, live in some kind of a community. And so continuing care communities, if there is one in your area, I want to encourage anyone watching this, even during the replay, to really check that out, because here's what it is. In a continuing care community, there are generally 6 spaces: independent living, there's a rehab, there's a skilled nursing rehab, there's skilled nursing rehab, there's physical therapy, there's assisted living, there's memory care, and then there's long-term living, all under one roof.
Oh, that's
All
fabulous.
under one roof. So what happens in a continuing care community is that if you go in the beginning on the independent living side, which is what my mom did, you actually buy in. So you put a chunk of money down, a large chunk, so they have to check your finances. So I'm going to be honest, that this option is really generally not for people that don't have, some ability to pay for it. It's expensive.
Right.
But if you're in that,
well, a lot of people sell their homes and can maybe do that.
That's exactly what a lot of people there have done. So, but anyway, my mom luckily had made some good investments, so she was able to pass the test, and she was able to here's what's wonderful though, you put this chunk of money down and you still pay. It's not inexpensive every month, so you're putting a chunk down, but that's like a long-term care insurance policy. But what happens is this: if you die while you're in independent living, all but 10% of that big chunk of money goes back to your family.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. So you're really kind of like putting that money on deposit if you need it as you go through the continuum of care, as you age. But if you die while you're in independent living, that money goes right back to the family except for 10%. So you're still paying.
Very nice.
Yeah. So you're still paying monthly, which is, for most people that have a nice house, it's no more than what their house payment was. Right. So you still have to do the monthly thing. And you have that, that money that, you're putting down to them is not earning you interest, it's earning them interest, right? It's part of how they pay for, what they're offering the residents, is to having that, pot of money. But what's very nice is that when or if you have to move into one of the other areas, and if you run out of money, that money that you put down helps pay for all of the care that you need, because it's increasingly expensive as you go into the areas where you need more personalized care. Right. So that is a really wonderful benefit of a continuing care community. And so my mom and her journey has gone from independent living, then she was in the hospital, so she had to go into skilled rehab nursing, then they took her out of skilled rehab nursing, then she went to PT, then she went back to independent living that first time, and then she fell again. She fell. Well, the first time she did not fall. She fell, broke her hip, and she had to go into skilled nursing rehab. But at that point, her memory had started to fail, and so it was determined that the best spot for her would be in the memory care area. So she went straight from totally independent living into memory care, which is a very difficult transition for her.
That's but it was still in the same facility, correct?
It was, and so it's really nice in a continuing care community, if your loved one, can do that, is that all of her independent living friends that she had met over on that side were able just to come and visit her in memory care.
That would be fabulous. That would be fabulous. Here in Arkansas, here near me in north central Arkansas, we really don't have that. Yeah. And that makes me very sad. That's something that we really desperately need. And, again, I don't want to go into all my details with my mother, but she fell and broke her ankle, and she had to leave the assisted living, and now she's in a nursing home for skilled rehab. And had she been able to stay there with her friends, it would make it so much easier.
It does.
And I think it helps with their memory as well.
It definitely does, because, at least the general environment is familiar to them. If they are able to stay in the same general, like all of this, what I've just described, is under one roof. It's on a 17-acre It's all under
Ah,
one roof. And it is an amazing, I mean, I would recommend anybody listening, don't move to Lake City if you need, if you need this fare, because it's really pretty incredible. And, what this Methodist retirement community has allowed for, and the care that she receives there is truly outstanding. This place is called, for anyone that is really interested, it's called The Crossings Retirement Community, but there's many around Texas, and I'm sure there's lots of other continuing care communities around the country too. And unfortunately, I don't have one there, Lori, but maybe you could establish one. I mean, it would be it
fabulous.
really,
That would be fabulous to be able to stay under one roof and keep your same friends, because that's what's really hard, extremely hard for my mother, is
yeah.
the moves. After she broke her ankle, she left there, went to the hospital rehab, and they kept her as long as they could. Then they sent her to a skilled nursing rehab. And so she's had three moves in just about 2 months. And that is, and already having somewhat of memory issues, that's made
It
it worse.
definitely
So,
does. Anytime
uh,
I feel for you, and I feel for you after our many conversations. But the more they have to move at that age, just especially when you just start to lose your memory, the more they have to move, the harder it is. If they have to go in the
it,
hospital and get anesthesia, the anesthesia impacts memory. So between the anesthesia and the moves, the memory just goes. It's really tough.
it's, it's very, very difficult.
It is.
Very, very difficult. Now, I know when she first moved into the assisted or the independent living, that's when she fell and broke her hip, right?
Yeah, so the very first thing that happened for her was the day after she moved in.
Oh,
She actually, so the day after, literally, she was still in boxes. She called me on Monday, that was Sunday, Monday morning, come and take me to the ER, something's wrong. And I won't go into it publicly, but she had a very, 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 very serious thing happen. And we actually thought we were going to kind of lose her just that day. And luckily, we just got lucky with having a good doctor. They thought it was cancer, it wasn't. But it was something that was, causing sepsis throughout her entire system.
oh
So
my.
that led to a very long journey on my part of,
Yes.
just, yes,
That
for sure.
probably affected her memory too.
Oh, it definitely did. I mean, that was definitely a beginning of, maybe not just exactly the beginning, but definitely close to the beginning of her true memory issues, being under anesthesia like that. And then after she was done with that initial surgery, she got back. She was in skilled nursing rehab. She got back to her independent living unit. But then a few months later, maybe 6 months later, they had to have her back in surgery for something else related to that. So
Oh
within
my.
6 months, she was under anesthesia twice
Oh,
at age,
that's not good.
yeah, at age 85, so,
Hmm.
yeah, tough.
She's 94. She's tough.
She is like a cat with 11 lives. She is just resilient. It's
I believe it. I
unbelievably,
believe it.
yeah, unbelievably resilient.
Okay, what did you learn, through all of this, the financials and all of that? What Share with us a little bit about that, because that's hard. That's
It
tough.
is.
Tell me, did y'all have long-term care insurance that helped, or had she just saved and had the money?
So in her case, she had saved and she had the money, and so it wasn't. She did not have a long-term care insurance. She was, of course, at that moment receiving Social Security from my
Mm-hmm.
dad. So she had that plus her investments. So that is what allowed her. But I want to say, for anyone here that's young, that's listening, that's facing this in the future, there's two things I just really want to encourage you to do. One is get your money in an account and contribute whatever tiny amount you can, even if it's $5 a day, into something that compounds your interest daily. Start right now. And if you need to know how much money you will end up with, go to nerd nerdwallet.com, and look at their compound interest rate calculator. Nerdwallet.com. Just Google that, nerdwallet.com, compound interest rate calculator. And that gives you all kinds of variables to play with, whether your money is compounding monthly or weekly, how much you can contribute, how much you're starting with. Compound interest is the key to saving for retirement. I honestly wish someone had told me that when I was really young. So for all of you watching, I just want
probably somebody did tell me that, but did I listen?
Well, we're all spending $5 a day or whatever on Starbucks or something, right?
Right.
And even if you're young, $5 a day compounded daily, even at 5% or 4%, it just, in 40 years, it's just an enormous amount of money. So honestly, if you're worried about Social Security, I just want to say, we're all talking about that right now. But
that's a big subject right now.
It is. So if you're younger and you're concerned that Social Security, won't be around when you're ready for it, then compound interest is your friend. So I just want to say that is the number one thing you can do right now and you don't have to do it much if you're young. Like literally $5 or $10 a day, $100 a month, whatever you can do.
Yeah.
That's it. I would do that over real estate. Real estate is always good, but the thing is, and as many people are finding out now, when the market's a little down in real estate in many places, if you're ready for retirement and you have to sell in a down market, that's not a good place to be.
That's true. That's true.
It's not a good place to be.
That is very true.
So
very true.
You want to be as safe and as liquid as you can be at the point where you think you're getting ready for retirement. I just want to say that. So, keeping your money in whatever you want. I don't want to give any financial advice, but just, keeping your money liquid and safe as you can is what you could do for yourself if you're starting out young. And then the second thing that I want to share with everybody is I did myself when I was in my 50s buy a long-term care insurance policy. And I bought that through John Hancock, which I still have. So the negative to a long-term care policy is that if you can't afford to pay the premiums as you get older, you lose all of that money. It's not like it just stays there. You just lose all the money that you've paid into it. So this is something to really think about. Are you better taking that premium and putting it into a compound interest account, or real estate, or the benefit to long-term care, in my opinion, is that it comes automatically out of your account. So you can't think, oh, I want to go on a vacation with that money this month, and you don't end up saving it. So it's like really forced savings. And I have mine through John Hancock, which if you review all of the care providers, they have the highest rating and have for many years. So right now I have a significant amount of money saved in my long-term care policy, which should take care of me, in my later years, without a problem. So I feel really, comfortable with that, and you may too if you're, and you can. The thing is, you do want to buy that in your 50s at least. You don't want to wait because the thing is, if you wait until your 60s or 70s, if you have health issues, you won't qualify. So that's the problem.
Won't qualify, and it's very expensive.
Very expensive. I mean, it is still expensive even today for me because the premium does go up every year as you get older.
Yep.
So that's also something to really, be aware of if you have the income coming in to cover the premium. Great. If you don't, again, you may want to, think about something else or diversify, of course. But that
definitely check out NerdWallet. Yeah. I'm gonna check that out as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, no, that's a really strong tip for sure.
Yeah, that is. Tell me, you have a very, very successful career, and you've worked really, really hard. How has this part-time caregiving for your mom impacted your life personally and professionally?
Luckily, I actually started my business 23 years ago, and I turned my business towards digital marketing 18 years ago. And this is before I had to start caregiving for my mom, before I made any decisions. So I was fortunate because I've been working from home for 23 years. And I just want to say, if you're watching when you're young and you can, or older, and you can get a business model that allows you to work from home and have flexibility, the true wealth in my life comes from having time freedom. It doesn't come from having $1 million or anything like that. It comes from being completely flexible. I can do my work wherever I am. If I'm in the hospital, I can do my work. If I'm at my mom's care home, I can do my work if I need to. I can just say, give me 10 minutes, I need to go take care of this.
Yeah.
So that's been such a blessing. So I feel like anything that allows you to make a good income and allows you to work from home is a good thing if you know early on that you're going to be in that position to have to care for a parent. It's very difficult if you're doing a 9-to-5 situation, or, if you are an interior designer that you're watching this and you have clients, that are depending on you to be at certain places at certain times. It becomes really tricky. Like, you probably are going to need to hire someone to help you at those times that you have to be somewhere specifically for a client. So that's been the blessing of my life, just actually making that decision before I knew that I was going to need to make it. So.
Right. Well, that's awesome. That you didn't know that was going to happen, but luckily it did. It worked out for you without even planning. But now looking back, um, had you known, you would have still done the same thing. You would have.
I definitely would have. I started my business because I wanted to, not because of anything having to do with my mom. But it's just amazing how, the universe or whatever had led me in that direction and in a way that supported what I actually really needed to do. And I want to say I'm lucky to have a brother that lives near me. He does help with, especially with the financial aspect of, running my mom's financial things, which I don't do. So we have a nice split of work. But I am the one that, and not because he wouldn't do it, I want to say, but I really, like I said, I wanted to repair the relationship with my mother.
Right.
And so being with her as much as I have been, she had to forgive me for, I wasn't perfect either as a teen. So, there was forgiveness, there's understanding, there's compassion on both sides. And I want to say,
Good.
when she goes, I will not have any regrets. Right?
Yeah, that's key, and that's what I am trying to do now. Too, is I don't want to have regrets. I think you always do in certain cases, but anyway, it's just part of it. But I want to do everything I possibly can for her, and stuff. And that's how I feel like that's what we are, the third phase. That's why we're the third phase, because we do care about that side, as well as, in my case, it's my grandkids, my children and my grandkids. So sometimes it's like, am I going or coming? Am I washing or hanging out?
But you are modeling. I want to say, again, for anyone watching, you, Lori, and all of you that are in Lori's situation where you're kind of sandwiched between an elder and kids and grandkids, you're modeling for them what's good in life. This is a really positive modeling that you're doing, as hard as it is on you. Personally, that modeling is a beautiful thing. And
Well,
to have, yeah.
and in a way, I think it teaches them how to care. I hope someday down the road, because I watched my mother take care of my grandmother.
Yeah.
And in the same, it's like a repeat of everything. And so I'm like, I'll be next, and I pray I have the care that, that I'm hoping my kids are learning from watching. So.
Well, and that's the thing. I just want to say, I don't think we can, I don't have children, but I have 3 nephews. I don't think that they're going to take care of me. So I do think it's really important for people to not, think for sure that their kids are going to want to do that. And I think it's important to have the discussion as well, and without making the children, feel guilty. I want to say, I watched my mother take care of her mother, And my grandmother did have Alzheimer's, and
Mm-hmm.
it was terrible. And I remember what
Um,
my mother went through. And I told my mom, I remember so clearly saying this. I said it because I told you we didn't have a great relationship when I was a
yeah.
teenager. I said, don't expect me to take care of you like you're taking care of Grandma. I don't think I can do it. I said that out loud to my mother. I'll never
Yeah.
forget. And now I am reading those words and glad that I can. But, you know, when kids are younger, even in their 30s and 40s, they don't really want to be saddled with that thought.
No.
So I think, you know,
No.
I,
No. They have all told me they'll find me a nice little
yeah,
place.
exactly. Like they just, you know, they're not there yet where they understand what it means to complete a cycle with
Right.
somebody. You know, and I think it
Right.
takes,
And
yeah,
that's difficult. It's difficult
yeah.
indeed. Well, Leslie, I really appreciate you being on here, and thank you. For all the viewers that see this, I had to beg Leslie to do this. She would not, but I have learned so much from her, and I know you have too. So I want to thank everyone for being here. I know we got several on here, and anyway, we will get off. And next week, I want to share with you, I've got a couple that did plan early for retirement. Their name is Kim and Shan Shaver, and they were able to retire because they planned before 65. So we're going to learn a lot next week. Leslie, you've shared a lot with us. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And everyone, we will see you next Tuesday, same time, 12:30. Everyone have a
Thank
great
you,
week.
Lori. Thank you.
And yes, and if you haven't joined the Third Phase Facebook group, we'll continue this discussion, and we'll try to add some of this that Leslie shared with us, those 7 steps, and the Nerd Wallet and long-term care. And also my newsletter will have all of that in there as well. So everyone hang on because we will have more. Everyone
Bye,
have
everybody.
a great day. Bye-bye.